The two most important things we believe in this life are what we believe about God and what we believe about ourselves. And if we have an inaccurate view of who God is, you will have an inaccurate view of who you are. And so I think what's happened is we've made someone's sexual preference their identity. And we see that in politics. I mean, so much of what's going on politically is identity politics, right? And so I think what's happened is we've taken a generation of people and we've made them believe that who you're attracted to or not attracted to is who you are.
Every time I turn on my phone or the TV, it feels like the world's falling apart. The news is full of chaos, and if that's all you ever see, it's easy to believe everything's just getting worse. But that's not what I'm seeing behind the scenes. In real life, in our communities, I'm watching God move like I've never seen before. I've seen lives restored, churches growing, revival happening at business events, people stepping out in faith, and God giving dreams and visions, calling people to rise up and make a difference. And that's why I started Transforming Communities, because I want to show you what God is actually doing right now. I want to introduce you to my friends, people who are stepping up, taking risks, and transforming their cities for the kingdom. So if you're tired of bad news and you've been wondering if God still moves, He does, and these stories prove it. To support what we're doing and to hear more stories like this, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to be notified every time a new podcast drops, just click the bell icon next to the subscribe button. With that being said, let's jump into the Transforming Communities podcast. This episode is brought to you by Helping Captives. You know, it's crazy how many people don't realize that human trafficking isn't just somewhere else. It happens right here in our own communities. Helping Captives is a faith-based anti-trafficking organization that exists to provide freedom, hope, and opportunity to survivors of sex trafficking across the United States. They do this through their different services such as emergency and stabilization, 24/7 around-the-clock care, professional counseling, and much more. If you're a survivor of sex trafficking and need help, or you're wanting to support a survivor's journey, take the first step at helpingcaptives.org. That's helpingcaptives.org. Today on Transforming Communities, I sat down with my friend Allyson Schaffer. You might know her as the former Miss Washington USA or as one of the loudest voices in our generation for truth, life, and family, most recently on the front lines for Turning Point USA. But the woman you see on the stage isn't the whole story. Behind that title is a story of hidden abuse, divine assignments, narrow escapes, and a faith that refused to bend when everything around her was telling her to. If you've ever felt called to do something bigger than yourself, if you've ever wondered how to stand bold in a world that hates what you believe, or if you've ever felt small and unseen in the middle of doing exactly what God has asked you to do, this conversation is for you. So without further ado, here's my conversation with my friend Allie. Okay, well, guys, I've got a fun one today. I've got my friend Allie in the house, and we are going to have a good conversation. She has a pretty unique story. You were Miss Washington.
That's what I'm told.
But then also big proponent and spokesman for Turning Point and also the fight against human trafficking. So we've known each other for a while. We'll kind of get into that. You were actually the first person to ever speak at a Helping Captives event before the name was even Helping Captives.
Was I really?
And that was the first one.
First one.
The first ever like public one that we did.
How cool.
At the Lincoln Center, which is now what's the church that's out of the Lincoln Center?
True Hope.
True Hope. Yeah. They're absolutely doing some amazing things.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were the first one.
That's wild. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty crazy how time flies.
Look at all God's done.
Yeah. Now you got a new last name.
I know.
You got 2 kids.
That's
a
right.
hubby.
Yeah.
So yeah,
God is good.
life's interesting how things shift and change. But one of the things I wanted to ask you before we get going, one of our big sponsors for the podcast is Be Bold for Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
They put on the big Be Bold for Jesus conferences around town, and but the question that I want to ask you is, what is God asking you to be bold about right now?
Oh man, Caleb, what? You know, I feel like there's so many things right now in culture. There's a lot of noise in culture, and I think there's a lot of distraction in culture, and it's easy to have an opinion on everything. And I think when God places a conviction inside of you, you almost feel a responsibility to have an opinion on everything. And so, and not that that's wrong, but I do think
You're not
that
opinionated.
I've never really felt the need to say anything. Which, you know, sometimes gets you in trouble. Like sometimes you wish you can do like this and like stick it back in. But I would say the biggest burden on my heart right now is to see the younger generation, which we are. Like, I don't know if you see this in the areas and arenas you're going to, but there is a fire in the younger generation that I haven't seen in the last few years. And I think it's because they're so tired of fraud.
Yeah.
And the one thing the Lord has really burdened me for is being truly authentic, like showing up messy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the hard parts of your story. I know we kind of talked about that earlier, but just being real about it. Like life's not always pretty. Right? It's not always easy.
Yeah.
It's not this picture perfect influencer, like everything. That's not the way it goes. And that's the parts that God uses. And so for me, it is speaking on cultural issues, but it's also being so authentic about it. And discipling and walking with these younger people. There's so many people talking at them, and there's very few walking with them.
Yeah.
And so my burden for that is I want to be bold about relationship, walking with these younger people and being authentic.
Yeah.
Like being someone that they're like, man, okay, she gets it.
Yeah.
She's not just trying to sell me something, right? She gets it. And I think that you're starting to see that build in them, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been really encouraged to see just what the Lord's doing. And I think you nailed it. I think when we do have the conversations with them, they're just going, man, we watched you guys kind of go out and tank it a little bit. And
for sure.
we're going, you know, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
Our generation's getting a little lost, and we're just wanting truth, and we're wanting the real thing. And I don't know if I've seen anything quite like it. I don't know about you, but like when I was going to high school, we didn't have this, and we didn't have a lot of crazy revival conversations, people, you know, talking about politics all the time. That just wasn't really our thing.
No.
Now these guys are thrust into having to have really hard conversations. And what I think is it's going to create a lot of really good leaders and really great thought leaders that have really been being able to communicate what they've been through and decipher really deep topics in maybe a better way than our generation could even communicate it. And I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I'm also seeing a lot of the young ones really getting into apologetics.
Yes.
And that excites me.
Yes.
That wasn't something that I really dove into when I was at that age. So for them to understand just not what they believe, but why they believe it.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah, it's been really neat.
Having an answer on their tongue.
Yeah.
And I think that even plays into on the opposite side, you know, some of these cultural issues. And honestly, Caleb, I think that when we were in high school, we weren't faced with the cultural dynamic that they have today. So, you know, we have political issues, but really they're spiritual things.
Yeah.
So spiritual things have become political.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you see this wave of, you know, young kids that are passionate about what's going on. But on the other side, I think that there's so many young people that have been told how they feel or have been told what to believe about this situation or who you are or, you know, what your gender is or what you feel or who you're attracted to, but they don't know why. They've just been told this, or they're so desperate for validation. And then here comes this community that I'll validate that. I'll bring you in. And they don't really know why they feel what they feel.
Yeah.
And I think that apologetics piece, you know, when you know that you know that you know, and you can stand on not only biblical facts, but historical facts, context, all of these things, you can't shake that.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing God instill this unshakable foundation. And it's powerful.
Yeah.
It really, really is.
Yeah. That's awesome. So that's, yeah. So God's just telling you, just don't be scared, be bold, put what's on your heart, just get it out there.
Get it out there, girl.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get to be scared if.
How did you get to that point? Because it's got to be a little bit intimidating.
No doubt.
To get on social media, to start telling your opinions online, knowing that as soon as you open your mouth, you're going to get hate.
Yeah. Oh, you get slaughtered.
How did you process that?
You know, so I think there was a grace when I never intended to build any type of social media platform. When I won Miss Washington USA, I had always been very vocal about my faith. I mean, I grew up in the church. I went to Life Center. I was on worship team there. I interned at Life Center for worship. Okay. And so, you know, church, my relationship with God was never something I hid. It was never something that was quiet. Yeah. And I think that naturally kind of translated into that year. And I would share things, you know, on social media. And then all of a sudden I had this title and people wanted to hear what I had to say. And what I had to say wasn't anything different. But I think there was a naiveness in, you know, I just say it. Yeah. I didn't realize that people don't always like what you have to say. And honestly, it was some of those things that I think gained this platform. And at the same time, I didn't realize the intensity of some of the things that I was saying because it was just black and white to me. Yeah. It's not confusion. It's not gray area. It's black or white. And so that's how my brain thinks. That's how my faith, you know, but I realized that there's absolutely, you know, a war in the spirit for that. And so I think there was a naiveness when I first started and I just rolled with it. And the Lord made it very clear, you know, Allie, I've given you a platform. I didn't try to get it. It's like he plopped it in my lap. I was like, okay, here we go. Yeah. And, but there was also a lot of wrestling, like, what are you going to do? Because I was in a unique position where I had young women that did look up to me. And I didn't have the option anymore to kind of shrink back. It was like, I was in it. I was there. Yeah. And so I think I felt the weight of that. But if I'm being honest with you, I think in the beginning, I didn't know. Okay. And it was kind of the grace on it because then that's kind of how things started rolling.
So you didn't necessarily have to sit there and strategically talk to yourself or amp yourself up to even get on social media. No. You already had social media, then God gave you a platform. Yeah. And it just kind of happened.
It just kind of happened. Okay. It is my personality to be very black and white. Yeah. And that can rub people the wrong way. Yeah. And I've learned that over the years. Okay. So it wasn't like I was trying to be like super bold or controversial. Yeah. It's just me. Okay. But again, like I think it was the grace on that of me not really realizing that at the time, you know? And it just kind of kept going that way. One of the biggest things that I touched on was when they legalized gay marriage. And I made a video about it. And I was, you know, I have such a heart for that community, but I was very honest about, you know, this is what the Lord says, but he loves you. And I don't care who you are, what community you're in, what you did, what you didn't do, God loves you. And there's nothing you can do that can change that. But as Christians, we cannot support what God does not support. But that doesn't mean that I don't love you because I don't support this thing. Not supporting that doesn't equal not being for you. Yeah. And I made this video just, you know, articulating these things I wasn't seeing a lot of Christians doing. I was seeing a lot of Christians taking the word of God and beating it on people's heads, even though maybe the truth of it was there, but the heart of God was not. Yeah. And so I made this video, and of course, right, no matter what you're going to say, the enemy's going to come at you. And that video went viral, I mean, in a matter of minutes. I don't know why, but that was the one where I really realized that there is a spiritual battle, and it was vicious, and I was slaughtered. I mean, to the point where I'm like like having to go into my room and like get on the ground and just be like, Lord, I need you to cover me because this is like intense, really intense. But it also sparked something in me that God has something to say. And usually when you're doing that, you don't want to be the one doing that.
Right.
But
why do you think, especially with that topic, why do you think it's so challenging to be able to communicate in a way that says, hey, I do care for you, I do love you, I'm for you, but this is what the Bible says, and so because I have a biblical worldview, because this is the code that I've chosen to live by, I just can't support it in that way. But it's challenging because in that community, it's like, well, if you don't agree with it, then you're not affirming who I am as a person, not just a lifestyle.
That's right.
Like, why do you feel like that is?
Because I think the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy, right? And if he can destroy your identity, that's the two most important things we believe in this life are what we believe about God and what we believe about ourselves. And if we have an inaccurate view of who God is, you will have an inaccurate view of who you are. And I think that the enemy does two things in that. I think that he creates a wound between God's children and who he is. That he's this mean, harsh, horrible God who hates you and he wants to send you to hell and punish you. And then the enemy, if he can get you to believe that, then anybody who has anything to say about the Bible becomes the enemy, right? Because all you want to do is you want to punish me. And so I think what's happened is we've made someone's sexual preference their identity. And we see that in politics. I mean, so much of what's going on politically is identity politics, right? And so I think what's happened is we've taken a generation of people and we've made them believe that who you're attracted to or not attracted to is who you are. And they can't separate that. And Jesus comes in to say, that's not who you are, right? We separate the sin from the sinner. And I think that's why it hits so hard, is because it is saying, if you don't agree with this, that means you don't love me.
Yeah.
And what we need is people within the church to say, first of all, that is not the most horrible sin.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. God says sin is sin. Now there's things that he puts an emphasis on, but at the end of the day, sin is sin, and we have elevated something so high that it's made, I think, people feel like, well, I can't come back from that. Like, if this is so horrible, and it's telling these people like that, God can't do anything with that. Yeah. And so I think there's just such a division that the enemy's using. But I think it does come back to what you touched on. The enemies deceive them to believe that who you're attracted to is simply who you are. Right.
Yeah, that's one of the things, because like growing up, my parents didn't agree with everything that I did or even all the things that I thought. Or, I mean, me and my parents don't, my dad and I have a little bit of differences in theology, but doesn't mean I don't think he loves me. Doesn't mean that I don't think he cares for me.
That's right.
There's a relationship there. And I mean, my roommate, back in my discipleship school years, I lived with was gay for a whole entire year. So I got to see him going to church and fighting that and realizing his struggle wasn't my struggle. And got a real heart for him. You know what I mean? But we always got along because it was, hey man, like I love you, I care for you. That's and he knew I cared for him, but we see this thing differently according to the Bible. But what I'm finding is that, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's because the identity politics and just like in making your sexuality your identity. When you don't agree with somebody on that topic, it feels like you don't care about them, or you don't approve them, or you don't like them. So maybe that's why it gets so touchy.
I think so. And I think, and if I'm being like just as real as I can be,
and then people are out there screaming
Christians
at them and telling them they're like, you know, that
100%
doesn't help at all. Yeah.
No, I think Christians have done that community such a disservice by misrepresenting who God is in that place. I mean, you see, right, all throughout the Bible, Jesus addressed the sin, but he was really good at drawing lines, but he always invited you over the line, right? He would say, here's the line, but I want you to come over that thing. I want you to come on my side. I want you to leave this here, but I want you. And I think that's something that as Christians, as a church, and maybe because they're afraid of it, like they're afraid to get messy. They're afraid to get down into those places.
I think there's truth to that, because I think people are always intimidated and scared by things they don't know or understand.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we have a responsibility to ask God, what is your heart for this? What do you have to say about this? And to be unwavering in God's truth, but also be unwavering in our love for people.
Yeah.
You have to have both. I agree. I think that it's the enemy's kind of bridged who I am is what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your childhood like? I'm curious to know what your childhood was like and how that even led you into wanting to do the Miss America? I don't know what it's called.
Miss USA.
Miss USA.
Yeah, and we take that very serious. They are different.
Like,
they are different.
Because there's Mr. And then there's Miss Universe, or
I don't know anything about that.
USA.
I
Those
don't know.
are different.
It's funny because I'm really, truly still not a pageant girl.
Yeah.
Like I would tell you to this day, I don't consider myself a pageant girl, but I can tell you this. If you tell an America girl that they were USA or a USA girl, they're America, they will correct you real quick.
Because is there two different ones?
Yeah, it'd be like having UW and WSU.
Oh, okay.
Same idea, totally separate.
All right.
Right?
Yeah, because I guess you grew up here in Miss America, or that's what I heard.
People think
so
that I was
think the same thing.
And so you can have I remember people being like, no, Miss Washington is a brunette. I'm like, no, Miss Washington America was a brunette.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like they don't always know that there's two.
So two different leagues.
Yes.
So Bellator and UFC.
Essentially, there's a saying that says, and I don't know if I should say this. It's not my saying, so don't get mad at me. But they say Miss America is the girl next door, and Miss USA is the girl you want to have next door.
Okay.
You can interpret that how you want. That's just what they say.
That's what they came up with.
That's what they came up with.
That's the line that they've came up to sell the tickets.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. And there is a statistic that more people tune in to watch. They don't anymore. When Trump owned it, he owned it. The year I competed was the last year he owned it. And then he sold it that following year to run for his first presidency.
Yeah.
But Miss USA there was more viewers on Miss USA than there are in the Super Bowl. And then you're more likely to have a son play in the Super Bowl than you are to have a daughter compete in Miss USA.
Wow.
There's some wild statistics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that just makes
Stuff
it
you wouldn't
even
think
more
about.
unique.
Yeah, just kind of wild.
Huh. What, not going to lie, I've definitely watched the Super Bowl. I've never watched Miss USA, so I'm not one of those people.
I mean, I remember once in a while watching it growing up, but it wasn't like I knew about it. It'd be like, oh, Miss USA's on. Let's see. It wasn't like a big thing.
So how does so what was that's interesting. So what was like your childhood like that you even ended up getting into? I mean, I'm kind of trying to slam like 3 questions into one for sake of time, but I'm curious to know like what your childhood was like and how that even led to that opportunity.
Yeah. So honestly, my childhood had nothing to do with that opportunity. It was like so random.
Okay.
Like the whole way that I even, walked into that was just so random. Okay. My childhood was wonderful. Like I didn't have a hard childhood. I had 2 parents who loved us. I grew up in a safe home. I went to a Christian elementary school, was in church. So I don't have kind of that super hard testimony as a kid. Some things kind of arose as I got older within my family dynamic. My relationship with my father's was pretty broken after a certain time.
Okay.
And I always felt like the black sheep of my home. My parents, went to church. We went to church. That was a very normal part of our life. But I still always kind of felt like I was a black sheep, And I couldn't tell you why, other than I feel like I just saw the world different from a young age. And maybe that's why I've always been so black and white about things. I just saw the world different. And I knew at a young age that God was real without knowing probably even how to communicate it.
Okay.
I just always had a really heightened awareness of God in my life. And honestly, I attribute that to just God's goodness and God, his protection and grace. But I was always very fascinated by God. I was always very fascinated by just his presence and wanting to be around it and wanting to understand it. Music was a big part of my life. I was a classically trained pianist. And so I connected with God through music. And that kind of became, my intimacy and my time with him. Yeah, I really didn't have kind of this bumpy childhood. At a certain age, there was some bumps in the road with my dad. And kind of some dreams shattered there, some relationships shattered there. And I think in God's grace, Caleb, the truth is it should have taken me down a crazy direction. You hear a lot of girls that when there is that broken father relationship and they kind of go into promiscuity or they go in, I didn't have that. I remember having a moment in my bedroom and just after kind of some consistent disappointments and expectations that weren't met. And I remember going to the Lord and, just saying like, I don't understand this. I don't know what to do with this, but I need to know that like you've got me. Like I need that. I need to know that. And I could physically feel, it was one of the first times I could physically feel like the presence of God wrapped around me. And I knew like God as Father. I'd say that was one of the first times I really, it's like you can understand something, but not necessarily walk it out.
Yeah.
And I would say that was the first time that I felt God as Father. And I shifted that expectation basically of this idea of a father, and I just shifted it onto the Lord. And it was supernatural. It wasn't like, it was just God's grace over my life that took me even more into, wanting to know him more. And so I started interning. I was on worship team at Life Center at the time and just surrounded by such good people. I just love them so much. And then I chose not to go to college. My whole goal was to go to Juilliard. I wanted to train as a concert pianist. I wanted to travel with symphonies. That's what I did. That's what I did from a kid. It's what I wanted to do. And that moment altered the whole trajectory of my future. And I was ready to go to University of Idaho, get my master's, and then go on to Juilliard. And I just felt the Lord say, stay here. I want you to stay here. And Paul Miller at the time was on staff at Life Center. And he said, I think you should pray about doing an internship for worship. And I said, okay, never thought about it, prayed about it. And I felt truly that's what I was supposed to do. Ministry was something growing in my heart. And so I did. I chose not to go to college, and I stayed and I did my internship at Life Center. And through that, the Lord just kind of placed this burden in my heart for the younger generation. I really grew a heart for young girls. Just some of the things I had gone through with my dad, and just feeling like I didn't have a lot of people that could understand. And I think there's a place of honor too, when you have an honor for your parents, even though there's brokenness. It's hard. You don't want to dishonor them. Right. By telling some of the hard, messy parts.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just be a place for young women where, I could walk with them in things and hopefully share some of the things God had done with me.
Yeah.
To make that lighter for them.
Yeah. Is that something you still kind of deal with and wrestle with of like, what do I share? What do I not share? Because
1,000% I'm doing it right now.
I know you can tell,
Yeah.
but it's because you're going, I want people to know there's hardships. I have people want to reach out or talk with me, or they're going through something hard. I'm here for them. But at the same time, I still don't want to necessarily dishonor my dad publicly and
100%.
get into all the weeds about it.
Yep.
So is that something that's still, that little girl in you still is in there?
Yeah. And I would tell you that came from, I remember when the Lord called me to forgive my dad. Mm-hmm. Hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Mm-hmm. Hands down. Harder than any, video on hard topics or getting slaughtered for whatever. That comes with the territory. But forgiving someone who's not sorry and forgiving someone who probably wouldn't even know they needed it, even if you told them, is hard. And I was preaching one time, and I don't know if you've ever done this, but have you ever kind of taken things out on the pulpit? like not that what you're saying is wrong, but you're mad about it and you're going to preach that thing into the ground. And it's kind of like a way almost of like venting from the pulpit.
Yeah.
So I was a young minister at the time, and I remember the Lord was like, and everything I had said was true, but the Lord said, you need to sit your butt down because you can't preach out of offense. Everything that you're speaking is coming out of offense. And that's not my heart. And I'm not going to let you release that. It was kind of like a check of like, I get it, but this is a responsibility and you need to sit down and deal with this.
Yeah.
And it was forgiving my dad. And I was mad. Like, I'm sorry. You want me to what? I'm the one who's been wronged. Why am I? Like, all these things. And I remember sitting, I was driving in my car.
Yeah, that would be hard.
Like bawling. And I was just so mad at God. Like, why would you ask me to do this? And I just said, I need you to help me. Like, I don't have it in me. It's not there. And so you either need to give me this heart, or like, you have to give me something here because I don't have it. And that place of like wanting to honor the Lord, but also like, you don't feel like you have it in your own strength to do it. And he said to me, Al, if you see someone at the altar, and they're broken and they're hurting and they're struggling with something, or they're bound by something, what's your, I'm just in this like internal dialogue with the Lord, right? Sure. In this moment. And he's like, what's your reaction to them? I'm like, well, they need Jesus, right? Yeah. They need you. Like, you bring freedom. Like, my heart is to see them set free. He said, exactly. That's the way you need to view your dad. He needs me. He needs to be set free. Like that same compassion you have on anybody else, right? You have to have it on your dad, because you're placing an expectation on him that he can't fulfill. And you need to put that back on me. And that was like the one thing I grabbed onto is, you're right. Like, he needs you. He needs freedom. And so in that moment, like, I had to say it like over and over. I forgive my dad. I forgive my dad. I forgive my dad. And it was like over and over and over. Yeah, it was the hardest thing I ever had to do. But it was that moment, I would say, forgiving my dad was also the fruit of what helped me honor him too. And so now, it's like I am careful about the parts of my story that matter. But I'm very careful because honor is important, and honor is not necessarily the same thing as respect, right? But I know that God calls us to carry a heart of honor. And so it's very important to me. But there's a lot of wisdom and reliance that comes with, how do I be genuine and authentic in my testimony and not take glory away from what God did, but also giving honor where it's due. Yeah. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I was picking up on that, so I just wanted to ask what was going on in there.
Yeah.
Going on in that head. One of the things that I am noticing before we move into like how you became Miss Washington USA.
Yes.
you have a very unique way of talking about the Holy Spirit and the Lord. You just, well, he told me this, he told me this, he told me that. Where did that relationship come from? Because it sounds like you're constantly having an internal dialogue with the Holy Spirit.
All day.
Yeah.
And I'm that weirdo too that like talks to myself out loud about it.
Okay.
Like my husband will be like, honey, what? I'm like, oh, sorry, honey, I wasn't talking to you. It's like just, it's constant. And honestly, Caleb, I would tell you that grew from that season of, have you ever been in a position where it's like you're surrounded by people, but you can feel all alone?
Oh, yeah.
Like you can be in a room with 1,000 people and you feel all alone.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that my whole life. Mm-hmm. And I think just literally like taking things to the Lord. And when this we'll get into in a minute, but I went through a season of singleness too that the Lord had called me into. And I'm telling you, like, it was like, you're my guy. Anything I felt, I just talked to him about it. Like all the time in worship, in the word. I'd go on runs and just talk to the Lord. I would go on dates with God. Like that sounds weird. You know, people are like, but you'd go to a restaurant by yourself? Yeah, I would. And it would just be like me and the Holy Spirit. Like my life was just, I was so like saturated with him. And like obsessed almost, like obsessive about my time with the Holy Spirit. But I think it came from that place of like so desperately wanting that relationship with an earthly father. And, you know, as a little girl, it's like my dad was Superman. You know, I was the little girl that wanted to marry her dad. And I would pretend, you know, I'd put on a wedding dress. And I think I felt like that had been kind of stolen from me. And so I just put all of that on the Lord. And I would just talk to him about the stupidest stuff, like things that don't matter, you know? But I had a friend who was a mentor, and I would go to her a lot, and I would say, you know, what do you think about this? And she'd say, Al, did you pray about it? I'm like, no, I didn't pray about it. That's why I'm asking you, you know? I want you to tell me. And she was so diligent at like, yeah, but you need to hear from God on your own.
What a cool mentor.
The best
So
gift.
instead of being, I'm going to be the answer, you go pray and you ask the Lord and then come and talk to me, and then I can walk you through that.
1,000%.
That's cool.
Like the best gift.
Yeah, amazing.
Like you need to cultivate that with the Lord. And I did. And, you know, and it's not like it's this audible voice that I hear. Like when I don't have that, but I have learned by spending, and this is not like a praise alley. This is like, cause I have to, like, man, without him, I am like, you think I'm like, I can be bold. Can you imagine if like I didn't have any kind of like filter from the Holy Spirit? Like it'd be bad. Like we don't need that in this world. And so I think, you know, just cultivating that intimacy with him. He speaks to me like crazy, like weird things, like, you know, it's just, and that's what I love about God though, is he does that for all of us.
Yeah. It's
just learning his voice.
Yeah.
And spending time in your word and in worship and around people that know him. And yeah, no, I cherish, it's like the most important thing in my whole world. If I don't hear God's voice on something, I'm like, why? Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what's, you know? Yeah.
Well, it's just, you can tell that you spend a lot of time with them and cherish that, because there's a special relationship there that you don't run into often, but just the way you are talking about the Holy Spirit and talking about God, I was just curious to tap into that and go, oh, it sounds like it's pretty deep and pretty serious when it comes to your day-to-day life.
Amen. So, I hope so.
All right. So how did we end up Miss Washington, USA, girl?
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Be Bold for Jesus. If you've ever felt the urge to live out your faith more boldly, to step up and make an impact in your workplace, your church, or your community, this conference is for you. The Be Bold for Jesus conference is coming back to Spokane, Washington. It's a weekend packed with worship, encouragement, and practical tools to help you live out your faith confidently. You'll hear from incredible speakers who are living examples of what it means to be bold for Christ. Tickets are on sale now at BeBoldForJesus.org. That's BeBoldForJesus.org. Grab your tickets today and let's be bold together.
Oh, Caleb, it's wild, man. It's like a movie.
Yeah.
I was in, so just a little bit of backstory. I don't want to give you guys things that aren't really pertinent, but it does matter. A little bit of backstory. I was interning at Life Center.
Okay.
Fresh out of high school. I actually started interning the summer I graduated from high school. I was 17. Shortly after that, so I went through my whole internship. That's a year long. And I was like involved, man. I love my life. I love my church. I love my community. I love my friends. Everything was I was just so blessed. I was working at a coffee shop at the time, not too far from the church. And these individuals came and kind of targeted me in a weird way. And lo and behold, I didn't realize they were trying to set me up with their brother. They were youth pastors at a newer church there in Spokane. They'd come over from the west side, and they had a brother that they wanted to set me up with. And just kind of without going too long, lo and behold, we ended up courting. Okay. And they were very much like you court to marry. Yeah. So the entire dynamic of that, I was very young, naive in a lot of things. That the dynamic was intense from the get-go. That relationship turned very abusive on every level. And I was in so deep by the time it turned that way. And again, I was conditioned that I'm going to marry this man, right? So I was conditioned to believe you stay and your job is to help him through this. And he was a drug dealer and a drug addict. And it didn't start out that way. Don't get me wrong. So going to school, when I met him, he was going to school to become a youth pastor. So all of these things on paper that, a young girl in love with the Lord who wants to go into ministry would want. Yeah. Right. Had a heart for youth, had this powerful testimony. And so I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. This man loves the Lord. Yeah. And, that's what the enemy does, right? Here's a silver platter. It looks great. Take it. And I did. Mm-hmm. And about a year into that relationship, started seeing some true colors kind of overnight. And by that point, you're in so deep. I had actually left Life Center at the time. And I was now the worship pastor at this church that they had started. Mm-hmm. So they had very strategically pulled me away from my community and surrounded me with their community. It was a very cult-like environment. I had never been a part of that. Praise God, right? Life Center is amazing. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't know dysfunction in church. I didn't know.
Right, because Life Center, especially with Joe and Michael, I mean, their family holds everybody with an open hand. It's not cultish in the sense of controlling at all. No. They're the opposite. They're like, we're not only going to raise leaders up, but we're going to send you out to go plant your own churches.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So that would have been, culture shock for you.
Big time.
Yeah.
Well, and they were very charismatic. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of, which in the beginning it was odd, but it wasn't like, I was aware that there was, different types of churches. But yeah, I came from just a safe church with good, solid leadership. And, I remember going to Pastor Joe and telling him that they want me to, they're asking me this and, what do you say about this? And he was just, he's such a father. He has such a father's heart. And he just said, we support you. We love you. If you feel like that's where God's calling you, go. You can always come back here. Mm-hmm. And so I did. Mm-hmm. And that put me in this environment. So fast forward to Miss Washington USA time. I'm in a very abusive situation with a drug dealer and a drug addict. I've still to this day never done a drug in my life. Very opposite from who I was. I was living very much two different lives and in a tug of war, but believing that I was supposed to help this man, right? Like, that's not who he is, right? He's this amazing man who loves the Lord and all those things that you tell yourself. Well, I get this random message, and at that particular time, I was going to school for aesthetics and also working 2 jobs. So I was a busy girl 7 days a week. And I get this message on Facebook from someone asking me to consider running for Miss Washington, USA. And I thought it was a prank. So I ignored it. I was like, that is super weird. Ignored it. A couple days later, I get another one. And I'm thinking, like, who is... Like, I thought someone around me was pranking me. I'd never done a pageant in my life. Didn't know anybody who'd ever done a pageant in my life. So I was like, you got the wrong girl. Another message came. Hey, like, have you seen my message? Would love to talk to you. So I responded back and I said, hey, I think you have the wrong person. Not interested. Thanks for reaching out. Left it at that. Another message comes back. Just give me a couple minutes. I'd love to tell you about it. I think you'd be amazing. And so I said, okay, we exchanged phone numbers, call this girl. And we ended up talking for like 2 hours about Jesus, about like what it is. And I said, you do realize that I've never done this in my life. Like, I don't do the heel thing. I don't do that.
So you didn't grow up doing the pageants and mom putting all the makeup and all the dolling you up and letting you do that. You didn't grow up in the system.
No.
Okay.
And I didn't even know anybody who'd ever done a pageant.
I would have assumed, that's why I asked you the question earlier.
Yeah.
Like your childhood led to that. I would have assumed maybe that's
no connection whatsoever.
Okay.
Like when I say random, like random. And a lot of people think that. I'm like, no. And so we ended up talking, and I told her they had trainings that you had to do in order to go, and then you had to do all these sets of interviews to even get in. And I said, I have no time. Like, I just don't think it's the right fit. And I'm literally giving every reason why it's not going to work. And really, I wasn't even really interested anyway. And she said, just think about it. Just now that you know a little bit about it, think about it. And as I hung up the phone with her, I literally could feel the Lord telling me, Allie, this is an assignment. Not like, hey, here's a cute idea, go try it. It was like a weight of like, this is an assignment. And I'm just like, you are crazy. No, not my jam. I want to go. I had moved back from Phoenix. I had moved to Phoenix for a time, moved back to get my aesthetics license, to go back to Phoenix to work. So I didn't even want to live in Washington. And I didn't really want to do anything that would keep me in Washington. Yeah. And I was just battling with the Lord. Like, no, I can't be hearing you correctly. There's no way. I was on a run. I used to run all the time. I lived on the South Hill at that point. I would run through Manitou all the time, and I remember exactly where I was. And I was running, and I felt like this stopped dead in my tracks. And I felt it again. This is an assignment. So I pulled out my phone, and I texted the girl, and I said, I feel like I'm supposed to do this, but I don't know why. And I want to be honest that I don't want to. Like, I was super upfront with her. And I said, and I also have no time. I can't do any training or coaching. And everything was on the west side of the state too. And I just said, I just want to be super upfront with you. Like, I can't meet all the qualifications that are required to do this. I feel like I'm supposed to. And she goes, we'll work it out. I'll figure it out. Wow. I'm going to take this to the directors. I really feel like you're supposed to be here. Like, okay. So then I get a call a couple days later, and she goes, it's okay. Like, they'll do an interview with you over the phone. They were always supposed to be in person. Okay. We'll do an interview with you over the phone, and they're understanding. Okay. So I do this interview over the phone, and they give me my local title, which I think was like Miss Spokane Valley, because Miss Spokane was already taken or something. So they like made one up, like, okay, we'll do Miss Spokane Valley. So I was Miss Spokane Valley for the time that I was, before the pageant. And then like a couple weeks before the pageant, I even called the directors to say, hey, like, I really don't want to do this. And I feel like there's probably another girl that does, and it's not fair for me to. And they said, no. We feel like you need to be here. I mean, like, anything I could have done to get out of this. I'm talking like heels in the ground, like trying to but the Lord said this is, and I tried.
In the ground now, they got you in heels.
what are the odds, right? The irony. And so, so it was like, I was committed. It was like, okay. But the thing, so going back to this relationship, right? Abuse around a drug addict. I don't know if you've ever been in close relationship with somebody that's not only criminally doing drugs and dealing drugs, but themselves addicted to drugs, and just the mental abuse, the verbal abuse, emotional, physical. I mean, I remember being thrown through like those French doors that have like the panes in them. I remember being thrown through this French plate glass door.
Holy smokes.
And not too long before this, and I had glass all over my arms, just blood everywhere. And I actually have a scar on my wrist from it. And I remember like being on the ground and him looking at me and just saying, well, you better pick it up. Like that was the level of abuse and trauma leading up to this moment. Okay. Nobody knew the extent of that. My parents didn't. I couldn't let them know because, then people say, well, you need to leave. Well, leaving brings punishment when you're in abuse. Doesn't work like that. And at that season of my life, every decision I made was about survival, like for the next hour.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can just get up and leave, and it doesn't work like that. And when you have someone who's involved with drugs and their connections are drug addicts and drug dealers, I could tell you some crazy stories that aren't fully relevant, but your decisions become what's gonna just make my next hour or couple hours easier.
Yeah.
Whether you want to do those things or not, it's just what you do. And that, working with trafficking and trauma. And so that's what was going on in my life leading up to this moment.
Yeah.
And so I get to the weekend, and I remember just even like telling my parents, like, I don't know why I'm here. All these girls, they've been doing it their whole life. And they know they're seasoned, they're coached, they're trained, they're beautiful, they're all these things. And I'm just there, And I remember the Lord like telling me, just, Allie, do not look to the right or to the left. Don't compare yourself. Like, don't try to do what she does. Don't try to walk like she does. Don't try to talk like she does. Just go, do you. Mm-hmm. That's what I did. I didn't know how to do anything else. And then I get called the next day to the final, to the first cut. Okay. And then I get called to the next one, and I get called to the next one, and I get called to the next one. And all of a sudden I'm at the final two. And I'm in my mind praying, God, don't let me win. Don't let me win. Because I genuinely didn't want to live in Washington. Wasn't even thinking about Miss USA at that moment. But just truly was praying, like, don't let me win. And then all of a sudden I win. And there's this moment that I'm so glad was caught on video, and there's pictures of it, where I'm looking up to the Lord and I mouth the words, you are crazy. And the part of that is because of all people, like I was the one girl who didn't really deserve it. I didn't work for it. And Caleb, that's not to put Allie and like I was better. It was God. It was only God. But the bigger part of that is what I was going through that nobody knew.
Right.
And I remember that night in my hotel room, and I had actually received a prophetic word from one of the volunteers that said, you are called to be a modern day Esther. And it like rattled me. And I remember going to my hotel room that night and just asking the Lord, like, what are you doing? Why am I here? I wished I could tell people that I was so thrilled. I wasn't at first, because I didn't want to be in Washington. I was trying to get away from this situation that nobody knew about. I didn't know how to do this whole world. Yeah. And it wasn't like this.
So your low-key escape plan was Scottsdale or Phoenix?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like going back, I had a church down there I loved. Like, oh yeah, Washington was supposed to be temporary. And I did move back to get away from this relationship, and it followed me. You know, it wasn't it wasn't just this easy, well, you just walk out. You don't just walk out. So there had been multiple attempts to try, to get away with what I had in those seasons, the strength I had or the understanding I had, which was not much. So, there's this piece of that story that is not about a title. And as amazing and what an honor it was. I mean, it was truly one of the coolest years of my life so far.
Yeah.
No doubt. And God is good. And the connections I made and the relationships I made, no doubt. Just what a cool time.
Yeah.
But there was so much more to that. And it was a moment of identity of the Lord really showing me, like, Allie, like, I have a call on your life. And I'm glad you know that this was not you, that this was me. But it was like he had to put me in such an extreme situation because I'm so extreme. Like, I'm so black and white.
Yeah.
It's like he had to put me in that place that was so undeniable to be like, you've got to make a choice on where you're going to go. So when Miss Washington USA, my platform online kind of grew overnight. Not something I ever thought about or wanted or desired. But I'm still in this internal battle, right? I'm still trying to figure out, how do I get out of this? And now I have young girls looking up to me, and I'm going to these events with young girls and like crowning them, and you watch them stand a little taller. And it was just like, I felt kind of like a fraud in the beginning, but my heart wanted it, but I didn't know how to fully get there. And I didn't really have any people that I could really tell the truth to, fully without either being judged or them not understanding, or being disappointed. And so the abuse escalated. He did not like me being visible. He did not like me getting attention. So the abuse escalated, the drugs escalated, the criminal activity escalated. And I remember getting to Miss USA, and I had this moment where they were doing our spray tans for the preliminary round. And he never touched my face, but I had bruises on my arm and on my legs. And I remember her asking me, do you want me to like blend that? And I didn't know what she was talking about. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. Blend what? And she kind of goes, that. And I looked down and I realized for the first time, I couldn't hide it anymore. And it was like I had been able to separate these two lives.
Got it.
And now I couldn't. And so, I said, yeah, that'd probably be a good idea. And I had this like out of body moment where all of a sudden I like saw my lives on like a movie screen. It was like this one life here of abuse and chaos and control and manipulation and fear and all these things. And then I had this other life where I'm at Miss USA. Like they just don't mix, right?
Sure.
And something in me like snapped in that moment when I just realized, like, what am I doing? Like, look at what God has done.
Yeah.
And I had like this holy fear come over me of like, I can't squander this. And I'm going to if I don't let go.
Yeah.
And so I got home from Miss USA and went over. Do you remember back in the day when you had iPods? You had iPods and you had headphones with cords that connected. So I had an iPod and headphones over at his apartment, and I went and I grabbed them, and I never looked back. It was like supernatural. I was done. But my fear always was, it would be, Al, if you leave me, I'll overdose. Or there would be times where it's like, hey, I've overdosed. I need you to take me to the hospital. And that became what reeled me back in. I didn't love him anymore. It was like almost like a hatred, but I felt responsible for his life. And And so I had to also decide, like, I'm not responsible for your life. And can I live with it if you died? Like, will I think it's my fault? So I had to also tell myself, like, his addiction is not my addiction. It's not my responsibility. His criminal activity is not my responsibility. And so I had to make that choice. And he did try. There was a couple phone calls of, and I just had to not answer. And you'd block phone numbers and then new ones would appear, So it was like I had to make the choice, but it was supernatural. Like the Lord just broke a chain off is all I can say. And through there, I started getting opportunities to preach and to speak and to share my story. And that's kind of how that happened.
Oh, that's incredible. Was there any other kind of lessons you learned through that season of being with Miss USA?
Yeah, I got hit a lot with appearance, the way that I looked. I think I was called the first transgender to have ever competed in Miss USA.
I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, Caleb, it was like ridiculous.
Who said that?
So many people.
What?
Oh yeah, they thought I was a man.
No,
They
dude,
thought my teeth were fake. They thought my nose was fake. They thought
people are brutal.
Like,
I'm sure the rest of us are watching this.
It was
dude, if you're struggling with identity
brutal
issues, we're probably all screwed.
It was brutal. Like, I'm not gonna lie, and I didn't know to expect that. Because truthfully, even at the time, like appearance wasn't like my end all be all.
Sure.
I mean, I've always been a girly girl and loved makeup and those things. Like I was going to school for aesthetics, right? But it wasn't like, it didn't run my life.
Sure.
And
but
so,
man, you can't get in the comments section. It'll ruin you. Holy smokes.
But then I became aware of things and it was like, do I? Like, does my jaw make me look like a man? And, all these things. And I remember like you get offered like, yeah, you can do plastic surgery if you want. Like you can do that stuff for free. And so like the temptation was like, yeah, Al, like maybe you should, like you need to. And I remember having some real battles of like, man, now I feel like the ugly duckling and like people saying like, oh, she's the ugliest contestant to have ever ran for Miss USA. How could they crown her? That's so mean that they would even put her in this position. Like she's going to fail. She doesn't belong here. Like brutal.
That's brutal, man.
It was.
I'm sorry.
Like when I'm talking like slaughtered.
Yeah.
And I did take some of the comments to my directors and even to some of the other like people that volunteered with the organization. And they even said like, this is next level stuff. We haven't even seen some of these things said before. But I think when you have a call of God on your life.
I'm curious real quick on that. I'm just genuinely curious. Were you open about your faith on stage?
Oh, 100%.
So that's what I'm wondering is if a lot of this is just hate because
1,000%.
Okay.
Oh yeah. No, I was always very vocal about it.
Okay. Did you ever have to process that a little bit of like, are they genuinely just saying this stuff because of how I look, or are they just mad because of my stances on things?
I think both.
Okay.
Yeah. I definitely think both. What became hard was it would be people, they'd get on these forums and they have all these like usernames. Yeah. And it would be sometimes people within the organization. So then you also had this paranoia of like, who do I trust? Who is really saying this? And so you never really knew where it was actually coming from. Jeez. And so I think that was also another testament of me just running to the Lord. Like, I don't feel like I can trust anybody. I don't know where this is coming from, and so that it pushed me further into like, and you get to a point too where it's like you don't really want to be around people. Yeah. Even though your job is literally to be around people, and it kind of put me in this position of, God, I need to know what you have to say, because I am surrounded by everything telling me I'm not worth it. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve this. I am ugly. I am this. I am that. And you put me here. So you need to tell me
Right.
what you are doing, because this was your idea. And I remember like having moments where I was pretty mad at God. Like, why would you it was like being put in a boxing ring and just getting pounded on. And if you can stand up, okay, you made it. It's literally how it felt. Like, here you go, Al.
Got it.
Like, take a couple swings, and if you can walk out, you're good, you know? And I think that, though, like, honestly, Caleb, it kind of like I have this part of my personality where if you tell me no, it really, really fires me up. Like, kind of like this rebellion in a way of like, I don't like being told I can't.
Okay. Well, you can't help me raise $1 million to open the Freedom Center.
Deal. Let's get after it. But it's like, you know, it's like that backwards of like, it almost motivates you more. And so, you know, I did definitely like went through a beating. There's no doubt. And I there was some pretty dark moments that I had to work out with the Lord and ask him like, what's true. And I remember him telling me one time to like go, and part of my job was image. So like you sign a contract with Trump and NBC, like your part of your job is image, and you're representing him and them. So you don't own your image during that year. They do.
Oh, wow.
And so, you know, I wasn't really allowed to go out in public without looking a certain way. And I remember like having to be like, I need to know that I'm good with who I am. I won looking like this. Like, I don't know what to tell you. That's how it worked. And I didn't want to be, I had done the whole like one life here and one life here thing. And I was freed from that. I didn't want to be inauthentic. So I didn't want to start changing my face. And then women, like you get to Miss USA, but that is not the same girl that competed at Miss Washington USA because you look so different. And that happens. And I didn't want that. I wanted to be authentic. And so I went through this time of literally like going out in public without makeup on to know that I was good. Like wasn't even for other people. It was like I had to be solid in who I was. Because what I learned is they will rip you apart if you do, and they will rip you apart if you don't. And it cannot be about the people. People are always going to dislike you. And the other side of that, people can love you one day and turn against you the next day. I mean, it's like people can't be your validation.
Do you think that going through that has helped you mentor the next generation of young women that are coming up in the Instagram world?
Yes. Because you see all these filters. Yeah. Like I'm going to put a filter, whether it's Snapchat or Instagram has them, and they no longer see who they are. They see this flawed thing that needs to look like something that's not even real. And it's scary. It's terrifying. And the insecurity and the comparison, it is terrifying. And I think me choosing, even and truthfully, like in some parts of that year where I felt insecure about it, when I almost regretted, I probably should have had my jaw shaved down. I probably should have, done plastic surgery here. I probably should have, and those thoughts going back, like it would have probably been easier, but I would have lost my authenticity. And that mattered more to me because I know as my personality, if I can feel you like not giving me all the stuff, I tune out. Like if I can tell that somebody isn't being fully genuine, it's like, well, I don't know how to work with that. I can handle the truth on any level. It's good or bad. I can do that. But it's like when there's, and so I didn't want to be that way. And I think this younger generation craves that. They crave somebody who can be real. And I didn't want to do anything that would take away from that.
Man, that's so crazy that you went through that. But you realize it's just probably part of being just a public figure. There's just no way.
It comes with the territory.
What, one of the things when we first connected, you had a crazy story happen. And now it's starting to even make more sense to me with the situation that you were in with that guy, why you have such a heart for women that feel trapped, why you have a heart for women coming out of trafficking.
Yeah.
But could you tell us kind of what happened at Target?
Yeah.
And then, and why you have such a heart for women coming out of human trafficking?
Yeah. So when I'd mentioned I had lived in Phoenix for a time.
Yeah.
And I had been in Phoenix for about 2 months at this point. Just moved there. And I had just moved into my apartment. And I needed to go to Target to get, just random things that you need when you move in somewhere. Yeah. And so I went to Target, and I was 19 or 20 at the time. So I was young, and I'd lived in Spokane my whole life, Yeah. And I was young, and I go into Target, and I'm kind of just meandering through, and all of a sudden I notice this gentleman, like abnormally close, like in my bubble a little bit. And he was wearing all black. He had a black backpack, and just, somebody that you would think like, this guy doesn't really, why is he in the makeup aisle?
Sure. It just doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And kind of noticed it, didn't really acknowledge it like to him at that first moment, but was aware of it. And then I just kind of walked through and doing my shopping, and he was always right, like close enough to me that it was becoming like intentional. Didn't talk to me.
He didn't hit on you or anything. So
No.
it wasn't like, so it's not a guy that's just trying to like
Nope.
see somebody think she's pretty. So he's trying to be near
No,
her.
didn't ever talk to
So
me.
it didn't feel like that.
No.
Okay.
But I did have a moment where, like, after I was about halfway kind of through my shopping, and I kind of looked back at him, and I was like I finally said, what?
Yeah.
Like, I
Got
don't
it.
like this.
Yeah.
And what caught me off guard the most, what's like kind of like stunned me, is when I did that, he just stood there. Didn't move, didn't flinch.
Didn't care.
Like, he didn't care. That bothered me a lot. And you got to remember, like, I come from Spokane, like we don't have, we did, but you didn't hear about that in a Target.
Right.
Like, it was, you felt more safe to kind of address,
Sure.
Something.
Yeah.
And so
And this is like what, 20?
this would have been 2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you definitely didn't hear about it.
No.
Yeah.
Even though it happens,
Yeah.
but it wasn't
Right.
talked about.
Yeah.
And to me at that time, trafficking was something you hear about overseas,
Right.
not within the US, certainly not in Spokane. And so that bothered me. And then I was like super on high alert. But my personality is like pretty confronting. Like, I'm pretty confrontational. So I did it again. Like, we were walking through, and I turned around at him again, and I kind of like went like that, like back off. Again, didn't flinch.
Jeez.
Like, almost acting like security. You know how like a security guy, and if you've ever had security around you, it's like they don't move.
Yeah.
They stand there, but they are never out of position.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it was.
Yeah.
And so I get, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
he's there for a reason. He's on
there
mission.
for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was weird. I'd never experienced that before. And I would say age-wise, like, hard to determine, but he probably wasn't much older than me. Like, I would bet he was definitely in his 20s for sure. So I'm telling myself in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, if he's still here by the time I get to the check stand, like, I'm going to say something. So I get to the checkout stand, and sure enough, he's not the very next one, but one down. I didn't see him ever grab anything to pay for. So again, like, this is not normal behavior.
Sure.
And so I tell the gal at the check stand, like, I turned my back to him, and I tell the gal at the check stand, I said, there's a gentleman that's been following me through the store in pretty close proximity, and I'm very uncomfortable, and I would like to like be escorted to my car, or make sure that he's not following me to my car. Well, in a Target, like how the bathrooms are usually right by the entrance.
Yeah.
So I went to go turn around to point him out to her, and he was gone. And I don't know where he went at that point, but he was not there anymore. And there, she points to the police officer and like an actual like sheriff standing at the door. And she goes, okay, please go tell him, and then he can help you. And I said, okay. And so, we didn't have sheriffs standing in our targets, or in our, we didn't have that. And so I went over to the sheriff, and I told him what happened. And he said, you're not from really around here, are you? I said, no, I'm from Spokane, Washington. And he said, okay. He said, do you know what my job is? And I said, I would assume theft purposes. He said, no. He said, my job and many like me stand in Targets and Walmart, and we are here because men like that will target a girl like you, and they usually have a van out in the parking lot, and they're calling the van, and they're saying, okay, this is what she looks like, this is what she's wearing, and they follow you, and they will go into the restroom, and they'll kind of peek around, and they'll wait, and as you are getting ready to walk out of the store, that van will pull up, they come behind you, they push you in the van, and we probably never see you again. And I was terrified, but enraged at the same time. Like I didn't, like my brain could not connect those dots, that was reality, that happened, that it has happened. And he goes, it's human trafficking, and they target, they come to places like Target and Walmart, TJ Maxx, Ross. And he said, he goes, he goes, how old are you? And I said, I was 19 or 20. And he said, yeah, usually he goes, you look younger than you are. But he goes, that's what happens. And he said, don't ever get into your car if there's a van next to it. Don't ever get into your car if there's somebody asking you for help. He goes, don't do it. It's always a setup. And so then I'm like, what's going on? So he does. He kind of searches. And he has undercover police people in the parking lot too. So he's saying, hey, he goes, what do you drive? What's your car? They check my car. He walks me out to my car. But then I was like terrified to drive home.
Sure.
So that's when I learned like about human trafficking in the US, that it happened here. And I was just enraged by it. And he said it's a huge problem in Phoenix.
Yeah.
So I, at the time I had, and I started just diving into everything I could learn. I didn't know how you help. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if anything would help, but I knew like I couldn't sit with that and not do anything. Like I couldn't know about it and not do something.
Yeah.
And so I just started trying to learn and like research and find out what that looked like. And he did tell me that a lot of the prostitutes were actually trafficked. So I had a group that we gathered.
This guy sounds like he's way ahead of his time.
Well, and I don't know if there was like, he was kind of a part of a specific group that were assigned to that.
Yeah. Sounds like he's part of a task force, but even in 2012, I mean, like he just sounded like he was way ahead of
like I'd never heard of that happening before.
For you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it was totally the Lord. And we had a ministry that we gathered that would go down to the downtown streets of Phoenix and pray over these prostitutes. Yeah. And the crazy thing is, Caleb, is like a lot of them would not talk to you. They wouldn't want you there. And I didn't understand that at first.
Phoenix, were you part of the Dream Center in Phoenix?
No, this was I love the Dream Center, but no, this was just part of our local church. It was CFTN.
Okay.
Michael Maiden, I don't know if you know Michael Maiden, wonderful. And so we just kind of gathered our own ministry.
Oh, okay.
But they did partner with Project Streetlight for a time.
Okay.
And so I was able to learn about Project Streetlight through them. Okay. Dream Center, I love the Dream Center. So we would go down and we would bring roses and pray try to pray for these women. And a lot of them wouldn't talk to you. They wouldn't let you come up to them. They didn't want to pray. They didn't want prayer. Yeah. And I didn't know why.
They usually had somebody around the corner watching
until I found out why.
Yeah.
So I really realized like how prominent and serious and like active it was.
Yeah.
And that was like what sparked it. It was like the thought that not only that it could have happened to me, I was angry that it tried to happen to me, but the fact that it was happening to women and children and men, I could not sit with that and not do anything. So ironically, the timing of that, a year later, a little over a year later, I win Miss Washington USA, and I had to use my platform for that. Like it had to be, I can't know about this and not do something. And so, that was that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we met shortly after that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I had started an organization and partnered with other organizations. You know, Lutheran Community Services. Okay, so Mabel was somebody that I love dearly. So we kind of partnered together. She worked with a lot of the trauma.
Yeah, she was the OG in the area for bringing trafficking awareness to the area.
Yes. So I love Mabel. And so I got connected with her. And we just, a large part of it was honestly, for me, spreading awareness. And I know you find this, what I found was that people didn't want to know about it. Don't tell. I don't want to hear about
dark.
that. It's too much.
Our bank, we can't. We can't support this. We don't want to. Like, it's gonna turn people off. Yeah,
they couldn't handle it. And once you know what trafficking looks like, you can't not see it. So now it's like, it's almost like it's the weight of the responsibility, but it's the hard part because once you're aware of it, you do see it.
Yeah.
And it's that you do have a responsibility. Yeah.
You're a parent now. What would be the one thing you would want parents to know about trafficking and how to keep their kids safe?
It happens right where you are.
That's the big one. Yeah.
It's not always this secret, organized, professionally made ring that it's right in your front yard.
Yeah.
It's at the local school. It's at the park. It's at the grocery store. It's, evil finds you. Yeah. You don't have to go find it. It's looking for you. And when you have a discernment in your spirit as a parent, I think God gives us, that heightened discernment, not only for but for our kids.
Yeah.
Listen to that. You don't have to apologize for protecting your child.
Yeah.
If something gives you a check, yield to it. You don't even have to know why it's there. Just know it's there. Don't ignore it. Be aware of people being overly interested in your children. Right? Like, my kids are great, but be aware.
Yeah.
Our kids don't do sleepovers.
Yeah.
I love, we're so blessed to be surrounded by wonderful friends and family. We don't do sleepovers.
Yeah.
And that's not to say because I don't trust. It's just, nope. When I'm gone, I tell my son all the time, if you were to ask him, Crew, what's mom's job? He would say, to keep me safe. And that's not me being a crazy helicopter parent.
Yeah.
It's me knowing stuff he doesn't need to know yet.
Yeah.
And I'm responsible for that. So my biggest encouragement to parents is, and have emergency words. Like if your child feels unsafe, have them have a word they can say. Educate them on what's normal.
Yeah.
What's not normal.
Yeah.
Things that we feel like we shouldn't have to talk about and worry about, you do. And not to be afraid.
Yeah.
Right? But that would be, I tell my son all the time, I think it's weird if a stranger is overly interested and over complimentary of you and they don't really acknowledge mom, but they really want to know about you, that's weird. I tell him like, that's weird. And just in ways that he can relate to, but that he'll, oh yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
It's important because that's how they do it.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad you're doing that. My wife has been same rules. So don't do sleepovers.
Yep.
The safe words, trying to train them on things, safe areas of your body.
That's right.
Not
and the actual words.
The actual words.
Yep.
To really use the correct words and terminology.
Yep.
Is important.
Yes.
Yeah. All of
we
those
don't do
things.
fluffy code. Like,
Yeah.
that's what that is.
We don't
do
keep
secrets.
Yeah. That's a big one.
I say if someone
secrets.
says don't tell mom and dad, you immediately tell mom and
Yeah.
dad. I said safe people don't tell you to keep secrets.
Yeah. No, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Caleb, what I have found in human trafficking, and even, because people will say, Allie, you're really extreme. You bet I am.
Mm-hmm.
You bet I am.
Yeah.
And it's the people that always say that doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
Evil should be hard to believe,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't ignore it just because you don't want to believe it.
Yeah.
And these kiddos need us.
Yeah.
They need us to go to and I understand not a lot of people can go to those hard places. Not a lot of people
Sure.
can work with a trauma victim and not be,
Yeah.
I get that. But it makes me want to cry because they need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, I was curious about, you clearly love your husband.
Mm-hmm.
You have 2 awesome kids.
Yeah.
Now you're not just, and you've always been like an entrepreneur / go-getter. That's just who you are.
Yeah.
How have you balanced being wife, mom, and also trying to obey the Lord with other things that he's put in your heart? Like, where have you landed on all of that?
Yeah, it's a challenge. And it's some seasons look different for sure. When I first, after we got married and found out we were pregnant with our first son, my original thought being, not a mom yet, naive, and I'm like, oh, well, they just go with you. You do ministry with your kids and they travel with you and nothing changes. And I did that for a year and I quickly learned that's not how it goes. It's not. And the reason is because, whether you're public speaking or ministering or whatever it is, when you have your kiddos with you, you're still mom and you're mom first. Mm-hmm. And so then you can't fully pour into that. And then you can't fully pour into your assignment that you're there for. And so really you're doing both a disservice. And that was a hard one for me because I want to do it all. I don't ask for help easily. And so the Lord really had to ask me for a time, I need you to lay this down for a minute because your first ministry is your home. Mm-hmm. It is your children. And I need you to kind of lay this down so that you can be here. Yeah. That was really difficult for me because I felt like I was abandoning something that the Lord had really entrusted me with, was this community of women. Okay. And it had nothing to do with influence or being seen. It had to do with, I felt responsibility, to be there for them. And it was kind of like my baby of, this community of women that were so close to my heart. And the Lord was like, I need you to lay him down for a minute, give him to me. Mm-hmm. So that was hard. And now that he's integrated those things, it is knowing which hat goes where. Okay. And sometimes, my husband and I own a business. So sometimes I'm bookkeeper mom and I'm, or I'm doing this, or, sometimes I'm at the school field trip, or, my younger son has some chromosomal abnormality. So sometimes I'm in the doctors and I'm fighting for doctors, and, other times I'm traveling and mom has to go and I have to leave. And, it's a lot of, but I would say in that too, Caleb, it's also being very sensitive to what God's calling me to and not saying yes to everything. Mm-hmm. Because not only I just don't have the availability for that in this season, but yielding to know that what he is calling me to, he is going to cover.
Right.
And so it is absolutely a balancing act, but it's also being very intentional about, God, what are the things you're calling me to say yes to? Because I know if you're calling me to it, I can give it my full yes.
Got it.
And sometimes it's not always the things you would think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the things you really want to say yes to are the ones that he says, not right now.
Is it, I guess, so for me, I'm not the mom. I'm not mom, right?
Yeah.
So, but my wife has the master's degree. I was the high school dropout that barely
Yeah.
passed high school.
Yeah.
So to watch her give up, there is a part of it where you feel like she's got some of these dreams and different things that she wants to do, but then she feels this tug of like, I'm laying that down for this season to be
No
mom
doubt.
right now.
No doubt.
And it is a season. And I feel like that's been something she's had to, like we've talked through is, this is, cause she's had the same conversation with me and listening to her. She's like, ultimately at the end of my life, like people are going to really, I'm going to really want to go to heaven knowing that I created and raised up these two kids that God's put in my life more than anything else that I accomplish. But then also wrestling with, am I not doing enough for the kingdom? But then at the same time feeling like, no, this is what I need to do. And we've just made, and it's cost us a lot of money at times. But at the end of the day, we've just decided, hey, on certain things, the family's coming with, like, we're going to try and hold this unit together. They're going to do ministry and travel, but it's a little different because a lot of times I'm out doing this stuff and she's at the hotel with the kids. And then she comes out. How have you processed that? Because I feel like, does it feel like when you're laying it down forever?
Yes.
Okay. Because it's hard to wrestle
can.
with like, hey, maybe this is going to be a 5 to 6 year season. Then the kids are in school.
Yes.
Then I can jump back in. Like,
Yes.
That's what I was just as a dad or as a guy. I guess I don't have to wrestle with that as much. Just the way that we've set up our home life is probably pretty traditional. It's just what's worked good for us.
Yeah.
So that's why I was just curious to be like, how do you balance that? Because I see you talking about it quite a lot.
Yeah, it's and we're probably very similar, and like our home life is very similar, I would imagine, to yours. It sounds like
we tried it the other way. It didn't work. We were like, no,
it's not the same.
No, we went
it's
back
not.
to pretty traditional, traditional roles, and it's just worked way better for us. It put a lot more pressure on me to
no doubt
provide, but it made me
and
step
those are
up
real
in
conversations
ways that I'm
too.
glad I had to step up, but
and God provides.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, no, my husband and I've had those same conversations. And I think too, as the wife, like, when you have, your wife has a master's degree and she's ambitious and she has
speak,
and our natural desire is to contribute.
Yeah.
Right? Like we want part of that burden.
Yeah. She's so gifted.
And and that's amazing. And that takes so much humility before the Lord too. Like that posture of just like, God, not my will be done, but yours. Right? Even when we can't see like the entirety of the season. I will tell you, like, I went through like a massive identity like crisis when the Lord called me to lay ministering and traveling down. And it wasn't, I was still speaking for Turning Point. And it wasn't like I wasn't speaking at all.
Yeah.
But it was not like I was gone every weekend.
Right.
That's what I was used to. Like you go, and I was running mentorships, and it was like my position was very visible.
Right.
And then you become a mom and you're not very visible. And it's very easy to assume that your impact comes with visibility.
Okay.
And for me, the struggle was, and I don't know if you could relate to this, and it's probably going to sound bad when I say it, but I don't know how else to say it. When you aren't being constantly validated, not because you need the validation, but you become used to it. And then it stops because you aren't stepping in that role in that season. It's very easy to question, am I important? is what I'm doing matter?
Yeah.
Like I'm cleaning diapers all day and
then also,
spit up
and then also
and this
like,
and
you know, you're doing that all day, and it's like you still need adult time and adult conversation.
You do, and that's hard to find sometimes.
Normal.
Yes,
Yeah, you feel like
it's
you're losing your
hard
mind.
to
Like
find.
I've talked about Elsa and Anna 37 times in the last 2 hours.
Right.
Like, you know.
yeah. I've sang "Let It Go" now for 5 years. Yeah, it's but that's the beautiful part of that stripping season too. Is I think the Lord is so faithful for us as mothers and fathers. But I think as mothers to realize like this is a mandate that you are raising the next generation. This isn't just about dinner time and snacks and
Man, my wife
those things
feels that
matter.
very, very strongly.
But it is a calling.
Yeah.
And for me, and it sounds wild because you're a mom. Why do you need that reminder? But it's so easy to feel unseen in the mundane. And it's so easy to feel like the mundane doesn't matter. And I think the Lord had to remind me, like, Al, this is the most important thing you will ever do. Like, we've trusted you with these lives and these souls to guide them and to pour into them and to represent Jesus for them. Like, and when you place that weightiness on it, it definitely changed. But I absolutely went through this identity crisis of like, who am I without this? And part of God's grace is like, you aren't what you do.
Yeah.
And so I think there was that, but I struggle with, is it important? Am I ever going to go back to what I did before, the way I did it? Maybe not. Maybe it will always look different.
Yeah.
But I also have this other assignment that outweighs all the others.
Yeah.
Too. And so I relate to that 100%.
What as a husband, or if husbands are listening to this, what's one thing we could do to help in that process?
Make us feel seen. And when I say seen, it's not, you're so beautiful. We love that too. But it's what you do matters. Like, we need you. We can't do this without you. I'm praying for you. Like, what's on your mind right now? Half the time as a mom, not half the time, I'd say 90% of the time, we have 30 things going on in our head at once, and we're multitaskers. So we're trying to do 30 things at once. Yeah. And there's the burden of, I didn't get this. We always feel like we are never doing enough. Even though we can't do more, we will always feel like we're never doing enough. And I think, I don't know if your wife is anything like I am, but I, as a go-getter, like, I don't give myself the option to not do enough. So when you constantly feel like I'm not doing enough, and the enemy loves to hound that, I think just, where's your mind at? Like, I'm praying for you. What can I pray for you for today? Like, I see you. And sometimes it's like we're stressed and we just want to be able to be stressed for a sec and not be told like, you're crazy. No, my husband doesn't tell me I'm crazy, but we feel like that sometimes. And just to be like, I get it, man. Because it's the same thing with my husband. I always want him to know, like, I feel you. It's stressful. Running a business, running a ministry is stressful. Like, and I want you to be able to feel that and not be told you got it. I want you to be able to be there, but I think we also want to be able to be there too. So I think it's just that partnership of, man, like, I carry you, you carry me, but making us feel seen, and just letting us know, like, the mundane things matter. And like, I see you, I appreciate you, I can't do this without you. That matters more than anything.
It's good. It's a great reminder.
Because I think we need that reminder.
No, you do need, you do need, I can't see it for you, but I mean, it sounds like you just said you do, but my wife definitely does.
1,000%.
And at the end of the day, nothing that we do as a family, like, even though I might be the one here most of the time, like, this is a family decision to run this ministry.
That's right.
I cannot do this without
You're all
her.
in ministry.
We're all in it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
yes.
The kids are in it. They're, my kids are like after this, I got to go drive to the 3 hours to another city to speak at an event.
Yeah.
And there's car show and stuff like that, and a concert. So I'm bringing the kids. It's a part of it,
Yeah.
Last couple questions as we wrap up. Last time I saw you was at Turning Point.
Yeah.
At was it America Fest? Is that what they call it?
Yep. That was AmFest.
AmFest. That was the last time I saw Charlie alive. And I was able to go in the back and watch him do his podcast live. I've never met anybody or seen anybody in my life that just could retain knowledge the way he did. Pretty incredible at doing that, but I was not nearly as close to him or the family as you are. How are you doing with that? Because you're still a part of Turning Point USA, and how are you doing with that? And why are you still passionate about being a part of Turning Point?
It's funny because talking about Charlie is so much harder, even though it's everywhere. You don't get used to it. I was so honored to be invited into the Turning Point family. And I remember when Charlie had asked me, this would have been back in 2020, maybe 2021. And they were doing a big women's event down the first one would have been an influencer event, I think, maybe, down in Florida. And I didn't think I was going to be able to go. Our son was newly born, and I said to him, Charlie, I'd love to go. Can my husband go and my son? And he goes, absolutely. He goes, you just let me know, and we're all about family. We want you all to be there. And that was the moment that I knew, oh, okay.
Yeah,
they don't have to be separated. Yeah. And so it was just such an honor. Charlie lived what he said. There was no discrepancies. There was no, I'm going to be passionate about this because it sounds good, but not. Everything Charlie said was who Charlie was and how he lived. I remember having conversations about doing various things with the organization, and I didn't feel like it was the right time because of my kids being so young. The answer was family comes first. Always. Family comes first. You pray about it. Whatever God says, you do what God says. It wasn't, we need you to serve us more. It was, we really think this would be great. You do what God says. All the time. That's just how it was. So when you say Charlie really, he was the real deal. And I think that's why it was so easy for Charlie to, it wasn't always easy. There's a lot of warfare that comes with that, but it was so instinctual.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
For him to do what he did, because it really genuinely was who he was. And I think that's why people loved him so much, and respected him so much. And wanted to be a part of what he was doing and what he was building, because it was based on not just truth that the entire world, but our young generation is craving, but because it was just so who he was. He didn't have to try. It just was who he is. Yeah.
What is your role with them currently, and how is all that kind of shifted or changed?
Yeah. I was a lot more vocally political over the years. I'm not as much now. And I'm not actively speaking for Turning Point. And the reason is a couple of reasons. All of us at some point received death threats. That's part of the political world, unfortunately. I had received a number of death threats as did my children. And so I don't have $1 million security following me around everywhere I go. My kids don't have security following them around everywhere they go. And I had to make a choice, as with my husband also, and prayerfully, is this the season? Where's the boundary between being bold and being wise? If it's just me, we can do that. We can work with that. When my children are named, now that changes the game.
Sure.
And so over the last few months, I have, which I didn't ever foresee happening, because I very much have things to say, on what's going on. But when it came to using my public platform for them, I felt a large heat in the spirit of maybe not right now. And again, that was another thing that I felt like I had to lay down. Now, I love Turning Point. They have my heart forever. I love them. I honor them. If they ever needed or wanted me to come to another event, I'd be there. But I'm not actively contributing to, like, in the online space like I was before for Turning Point. And that's hard. It's hard because the topics that are happening need voices. But, I'm not the only voice. There's many of them, and God's using so many people in that space to speak truth. But I did feel with the level of threat that was coming, you make police reports and they're like, hey, we can't, this is just one of, we advise you to maybe reconsider what you're going to talk on for now. So it's hard because you battle in your mind, like, I don't like being told no, right? I don't like being told I can't. And it's that battle
you feel like the devil's winning.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And that type of stuff normally would fire me up more.
Yeah.
But again, there was this like hesitation. I felt that the Lord was like, I think let's kind of watch.
Yeah.
Sit back and watch and pray.
Yeah.
And go from there. And they're also supportive. I mean.
Yeah. And again, seasons.
It's seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do I believe it's a forever season? No.
Oh, no.
And are there times where I wouldn't mind if it was?
You're way too opinionated for you to not.
Well, and it's crazy too, Caleb, because I don't know if it's the way that I look combined with the things that I say, but like people don't like it. People don't like me, and it doesn't bother me at all. But it's funny because I'm like, wait a minute, why can this person say it and I can't?
I don't necessarily know if it's that. I think what it's going to end up happening is the people that do like you and like it, they won't comment.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't comment because they're like, oh, I agree with that. It's all the ones that don't like it.
Yeah.
That get irritated by it that start popping off in the comment section. Yes. So you feel like all these people don't like me, but the reality is no, there's thousands of people that follow you and thousands of people that love you. It's just they're not as vocal probably because
they expect it.
because they agree with it.
Yeah.
Or they expect it. So I think that's part of the problem is that if you just read all the angry comments and you think, oh, these people hate me, but the reality is the people that agree with you or like you are far more.
Yeah.
But it's challenging when those are always the ones in the comments. So it's you got to stay out of the comment section.
Yeah, it is. It's funny to
and then they think they're making a difference, but all they're doing is they're just creating the algorithm.
They boost
it to get more views on it. So it's like
it's so true.
Keep hating me, man.
I let them do it.
You're helping my cause out.
There's certain posts that I just refuse to even read comments on. I already know it.
Yeah.
If I post it, I already know it. I'm not even going to do it, and part of that's probably selfish on my part because I don't want to deal with it. But no, there's,
that's great.
It's, you definitely know what the hot spots are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Last question I got for you.
Okay.
if you could sit down with an 18-year-old Allyson and give her one piece of advice, what would you tell her?
When you know the truth, you cannot be deceived of a lie. Period. No matter what that relates to. When you absolutely know what's true, you can't be deceived of a lie. But if you're unsure of the truth, that's when you can be deceived. There's a saying in culture that people love to say, you attract what you are. And that's not true. You don't. You attract what you believe you're worth. And if you don't know what you're worth, you'll settle for things that aren't what God has for you and aren't what he's calling you to. And so I'd say those two things, if I could go back to me, that was probably a very pivotal time in my life.
Yeah.
It would be know who God says you are. And if anything comes and contradicts that, it's because it's a lie. Yeah.
That's great. You said something that made me want to ask a follow-up question.
Okay.
If we're sitting at your funeral, the people are coming up to speak, what would you hope your husband, your kids, and the people there would say about the way you lived your life?
I would hope that they would say, I loved the Lord with everything I had, and that I inspired people to live boldly for Jesus without fear. And that they knew that if God could do something in my life, that he can do it in their life.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time to come on and
Thank you.
talk with us. And
yeah,
we really appreciate it.
Thank you. I was honored.
Excited to see where you're at.
Yeah.
Really?
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, we love you. Appreciate everything you're doing. And I think it's really cool to, yes, Siri.
Now you know what time it is.
You too. I think it's cool to see just as we're growing up, I think it's really cool to see just how much you are taking being a mom so seriously and just the way that you love your husband. It's pretty cool to watch. Just being honest, like it's pretty neat.
Thank you.
To see, especially when with what we deal with all the time on trafficking, almost all the trafficking situations come out of broken homes.
Yeah.
So it's so cool to see you just pouring in, and I know that God's going to honor it. And when the season's right, I think it's going to just you're going to go to the next level.
Yeah.
But now you're going to be going with the tribe, not yourself.
Amen.
And that'll be fun.
Yeah. Amen. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, I want you to make sure to like and share and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We're grateful for every listener. Your support helps us keep sharing stories of faith, hope, and real transformation. And if this episode encouraged or challenged you, consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear it. If you'd like to support victims of sex trafficking and be part of the fight for freedom, visit helpingcaptives.org to learn more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.